a transformational and innovative club committed to building a world-class, disruptive, and highly scalable business development model for the working class. He is the co-founder of PaySmallSmall.com, an e-commerce platform that aggregates sellers and offers flexible payment solutions for different
أصحابه أجمعين. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله الله أكبر وأكبر كبيرا والحمد لله كثيرا وسبحان الله بكرة وأصيلا لا إله إلا الله وحده أنجز وعده ونصر عبده وعز جنده وهزم الأحزاب وحده لا إله إلا الله ولا نعبد إلا إياه مخلصين له الدين ولو كره الكافرون. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد. أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Today, inshallah, we have been asked to talk about sex, gender identity. When I first got the topic, I was wondering what exactly were the intentions, but I tried as much as possible to scope it by running it by few people around to understand what could have been the intention behind this. But inshallah, we pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will guide our tongue. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us to understand more than we have said, and we pray Allah to continue to bless the Imam and all of the members of the Nasiha group and make the Nasiha group a group that will benefit Islam and will be hujjah for us all in this world and in the hereafter. So now, we'll first and foremost start with sex and gender, because theoretically, there's a difference, even though sometimes in a lot of cases or in a lot of instances, people mix both. Sex is said to be a trait that determines an individual's reproductive function, that is a male or a female, which also happens in animals and plants. Like we learned in primary school, we found out that the male and female manifestation, you find it in animals and plants as well. And that is what helps both to propagate their species through sexual reproduction, animals and plants, I said. Now, secondly, the gender. Gender, either of the two sexes, male and female, especially when considered with reference to social and cultural differences rather than biological ones. So this is telling us that when we're talking about the biological differences, we're talking about sex. And but when it is more of social and cultural differences, we're talking about gender. And basically, there are mainly two gender, either the male or the female gender. So the definitions are from Wikipedia and Oxford Dictionary. Okay. Now, what then is gender identity? So it is the psychological sense of the self as masculine or feminine. The psychological sense of the self as masculine or feminine. Please note that some of these definitions, we may not necessarily agree with them. Let us note that ahead of time, so that because we, as Muslims, we're going to be looking at this and every other thing we do from the binoculars of the deen. But let us go ahead with the best of the definitions we can find around, and as we reframe this or as we deconstruct the issue of sex and gender, we'll be able to fit in what are Islamic side to it. And so this is not always the same as the gonadal sex. The gonadal sex, talking about the sex, where the internal organ support the external manifestations. So means that some now currently, when they talk about gender identity, which we need to understand, they believe that it is not about the gonadal sex alone, that it also extends to the psychological, the emotional, or the non-assigned sex, as they call it. So a few individuals who are genetically members of one sex feel and act as though they are members of the other sex. Those are some of the, like I said again, those are some of the things you'll find in the books today, which we will try as best as possible to extract. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, "Ba'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, ya ayyuhan nasu, inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha," that وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلِيمٌ خَبِيرٌ. Allah says, "O humanity, indeed we created you from a male and a female and made you into peoples and tribes so that you may get to know one another. Surely the most noble of you in the sight of Allah is the most righteous among you. Allah is truly all-knowing and all-aware." So that's some of the Quranic injunctions that leads us to the definitions or the framing of sex and gender. As Allah is saying that He created us from male and female, meaning that is the manifestation of gender of humanity. So that is one of the first assertions that we must note, that our creation is from male and female, and our existence is majorly as male and female. I hope we are noting that is the first thing to note. That is, again, I repeat that our creation is from male and female, and our manifestations, gender manifestations, is as male and female. Now, let's
okay, sorry. So she doesn't need to go. They don't for every activity. She just calls downstairs.
The host can please mute anybody who unmutes him.
I said that
so that we are not distracted. Thank you very much. Now, male and female sexuality has two major manifestations. That is heterosexuality and homosexuality. Again, I said the male and female sexuality has two major manifestations: heterosexuality and homosexuality. Heterosexuality refers to sexual relations between a man and a woman, and is the only acceptable sexual relationship in Islam. That is, a sexual relations between a man and a woman. Again, that is the only acceptable sexual relationship in Islam. Yeah. Within the heterosexual relationships, we have what we call premarital sexual relationship, marital sexual relationship, and extramarital sexual relationships. Now, again, the marital sexual relationship is the only acceptable form of sexual relationship in Islam, while others are frowned at. Others, like premarital sex, Islam is clearly and openly against premarital and extramarital sexual relationships. So the only acceptable heterosexual relationship in Islam is the one that is within the confine of a valid marriage contract. That is the only relationship that Islam allows sex between a man and a woman. Then the other type of sexual manifestation is the homosexuality. Homosexuality is a sexual relationship between a man and a man, or put again, sexual relationship between a woman and a woman. They say that is a sexual relationship between people of the same gender. Islam frowns at it. In fact, Islam abhors it clearly and vehemently. So that we should also note. Yeah, thank you. Now, but in Islam, what are the types of gender that are recognized as far as the classical Islamic law in terms of assigning legal rules? It explicitly recognizes 4 gender among human beings. Note that I said the core major recognized gender are the male and female. But of course, there are manifestations of where we can call incongruent sexual manifestations in human beings, even sometimes in animals. Those sexual manifestations might come in the form of situations where the creature, the human being, has both sexual organs, which is called the hermaphrodite. Is a third sexual manifestation which Islamic view understands and also recognizes. And the fourth one is the effeminate. The effeminate male. The effeminate male are men who have some obviously physical characteristics of a woman, even though the sexual organs might still be that of a male, but has some obvious physical characteristics of a woman. Those are the 4 types of gender manifestations that the classical Islamic law recognizes. And that is not to say that the male and female are still not the major assigned gender. They are still not the major recognized gender, but there are still some other instances where some manifestations are recognized in Sharia. Why is it so? That we will try to clear. Yeah. Now, who is a khunsa? A khunsa is what they call the hermaphrodite. Ibn Qudama, one of the leading Islamic scholars, defined a khunsa as a person with both male and female organs, or with an opening in place of a sexual organ from which he urinates. So note this, and this permeates the definition of gender in Islam. Everything about gender in Islam relates to the physiological manifestations. How do I mean? Relates to what we see, not what somebody thinks or what somebody feels. It is strictly what is manifest. That is what defines or determines the Islamic assignment of gender. Again, note, it is the physiological, not psychological or emotional or imaginary assignment of sex. It's strictly physical, the physiological manifestations that determine the categorization of gender in Islam. So that is some of the things we should note that determines how Islam defines it. Now, the classical jurists have divided khunsa into 2 subcategories. We have the non-problematic, that is the easily discernible khunsa. It is called the khunsa ghayri musikil, or they call it the wadi. That is the non-problematic. It is easy to recognize. Once you look at the sex organ, you can easily discern that, look, this is clear, that it is a hermaphrodite. It has both the male sexual organ or the female sexual organ. And most of such things arise during conception and childbirth. It's a lot of some through congenital anomalies during pregnancy and childbirth. And how can this be corrected? What are the solutions to it? We shall still talk a little more about it. And the other one is the problematic or intractable khunsa. That is khunsa musikil. That is a definition by Al-Bakri. Yeah, said this definition, this calculation was done in order to integrate the unsa into the social system and law. Because Islam is a very practical religion. We won't say because it has been defined that it's only male and female, then when we now see those manifestations, we don't take care of them. We don't, because a lot of things, a lot of roles that we play in Islam, a lot of things we do in Islam are guided. So, for instance, somebody, an hermaphrodite, how does he pray salat? How does how will he be identified? Male or female? Does he go to male toilet or female toilet? So Islam has clearly defined all of this. Now, a khunsa musikil, that is the wadi, is a person with both male and female genitals who can be assigned a specific sex and gender based on which genital organs is the more dominant of the two. The most dominant organ will be his gender, the gender to be assigned. So, for example, if this person urinates from the penis, ejaculates, at least the person has both a male and female organ, and he urinates from the male organ, while the female organ, he does not urinate from there. He ejaculates from the male organ. He grows facial hair. Those are more clearer manifestations of a male, then that person will be regarded as a male. Yet, if this person develops breasts as opposed to the other one, he develops breast and menstruation, then that person will be regarded as a female. Meaning that in modern times, that medicine has expanded and grown, such a person could be helped with either some corrective surgery or some hormonal improvement to the newly defined gender based on the most manifest of the gender characteristics. I hope this is clear. Yeah. So again, we talk about the khunsa musikil. The khunsa musikil is a person who cannot easily be categorized as either male or a female. That is, for instance, the person sometimes urinates from the penis and sometimes from the vagina. Sometimes you see a few more manifestations of both male and female in that person. Now, like it is said, that this manifestation, this definition of the musikil was basically a product of the understanding of the physical manifestations are then. There are some internal organs which this knowledge of medicine, embryology, and modern imaging has helped us to be able to see. So those internal organs can further lay credence to which gender that person will be assigned. Note again, all of those internal organs are still part of the physiology of that person, not imaginary, not emotional, not what I think or what I feel or what my body is telling me or what my mind is telling me. No, it is strictly physiological manifestation, so that we are not misunderstood. Strictly physiological manifestations. So meaning that apart from the physical manifestations which shows whether it is the female characteristic that is dominant. We also check some internal organs where the scholars, the medical experts and scholars are looking at what they call the DSD, that is the differences in sex development, to learn about the modern trends in anatomy, such by investigating the person's karyotype, the gonadal tissue histology, and the internal reproductive organs, and not just depend on the appearance of the external genitalia. So, meaning that in assigning gender, there are some more detailed physiological examination that can be carried out to see which gender is actually more dominant. So this will help in classifying the Khunsa Musikili, because the scholars have said at the start that, look, this is problematic. It is difficult to determine. So modern science, and the beauty of Islam is very, very much open to modern science. So modern science is here to help in further investigation so as not to make it problematic again. Even though it is physically problematic, once we are able to do a more thorough internal examination, then the gender for such a person can be easily assigned. Now, the fourth type of gender that Islam recognizes are the effeminate male. The effeminate men are of two types. There are some that Islam accepts as being effeminate, and there are some that is called the blameworthy, that is those who the Prophet, the authentic tradition, that they are caused in the hadith of Nawawi, that is the Sahih Muslim. That is the Sahih Muslim where the Imam Nawawi did the sharing. The first one who was created that way, that is created is a man, but his voice is like a woman. His mannerisms is like a woman. Some of his features, not sexual features now, not genitalia, appears, resemble kind of their speech, their appearance, and sometimes their movements. Not out of, they are not pretending. They are not trying to look like that. They just naturally look like that. He said, Allah created him upon his disposition. He is not blameworthy for him, nor a fault, nor a sin, nor is he punished. That person is a male. We're not going to condemn him, but that is what he has. So there's nothing wrong with him. So now, the other effeminate are those whose physical characteristics are that of men, as most of them we see today. They have nothing. Allah has not, they are not naturally created with anything effeminate. They are now trying to, he now went to do surgery to correct his voice to look like a female. Or he now always likes to speak and twist his voice like a female. Not that it's naturally like that. Or he now starts to walk like a female. He now tries to twist and mimic that of a female. The Prophet lay cost on them. Such a people, such a behavior is abhorred in Islam, and it is seriously and utterly discouraged. So, like we mentioned, that there are 4 types of gender that is recognized in Islam. The first, we say the male gender. The second, we say the first, that is Dakarin, that is the male gender. Al-Untha, the female gender. Then the third one we call the Khunsa, that is the hermaphrodite, person who has the both male and female genitalia. And the Fourth one is the effeminate. That is the man who, although he's a man, has some physical, obvious physical traits of a woman, but everything about his manifestation, that is his gender manifestation, remains that of a man. And we also said the khunsa, the hermaphrodite, are into two. We have the non-problematic, that the khunsa going to kill, they call them the wadi, and the problematic one, that is the intractable, that is the khunsa kill. I hope we are following on this. Now, according to Islamic jurisprudence, the khunsa's obligation is the obligation. We already know the obligation of male and female in Islam. We'll not spend so much time on that. We know a male will pray, the female will also pray, but the female is exempted from prayer during the period, the monthly period. That is, the female is exempted from prayer during the monthly period, and also from some Hajj rites. So we know all of that. But as far as the khunsa is concerned, they said in regard to daily prayer, said it's the same as that of the adult female. It is highly recommended that the khunsa pray at home, the same way that the adult female is recommended. That is number one. Number two, the khunsa's position in prayer, congregation, is right in the middle. That is, the khunsa will not pray with the men in the front, especially if the gender has not been formally assigned. Let's note this. Once the gender is assigned and is now a male or a female, he will continue to lead with the either male or female. But we feel an khunsa that is not yet defined, and the position in the prayer congregation is right in the middle, behind the adult male and the male children, and in front of the female children and adult women. This is agreed upon by all the Islamic schools of jurisprudence. I hope this is clear. Also, concerning the khunsa's khunsa's aura during prayer, if it's still uncertain to which gender the khunsa belongs, then the khunsa should wear a female attire. That is, if the gender is not yet determined, then the khunsa should wear a female attire. This is fully covered except for the face and the hands. However, if the gender has been determined, the khunsa should follow that gender's attire accordingly. Same thing for prayer. Once the gender has been determined, he would, if it's determined to be a male, he will pray among the male. If it's determined to be a female, she will pray among the female. In terms of being an imam, if the khunsa is still undecided on the gender to which he or she is assigned, then the khunsa cannot be an imam for other men. That is, he cannot lead the prayers. But the khunsa can be an imam for other khunsa and for women. But Al-Bakri says that a khunsa may not be able to be an imam for other khunsa, as well as he or she may not be for the women as well. That is one of the opinions, but others have the opinion that khunsa can be an imam for other men. I mean, cannot be imam for men, but he can be imam for women and can also lead other khunsa in salat. Okay. Now, what are the position of scholars of Islam on sex change? On sex change. Number one, a sex change operation in a non-DSD individual, that is, somebody who does not have differences in sexual disposition. That's a non-DSD, that is a normal human being like you and I. Somebody whose sexuality or gender is manifest, is a man, is a woman. Doing a sex change operation is haram. is totally prohibited and is considered to be a criminal offense in accordance with the Holy Quran and the Prophet's saying. So meaning that a man cannot think, I feel like a woman, my head is thinking like a woman, I feel I'm trapped in woman body, whereas all physiological manifestation shows is a man. It is not allowed in Islam. Now, number two, those who have both male and female organs require further investigation. Further investigation like the physical investigation in the case of Khusa Gari Musikil, or internal investigations in the case of Khusa Musikil. Then, for such a person, it is permissible to treat that individual medically with either hormonal injections or surgery in order to eliminate the ambiguity and to raise him with the gender that is most dominant for him or her. As you see, for instance, you have both, somebody has both a male and female sexual organs, but the most dominant, based on physical examination or internal examination through imagery, surgery, and every other thing, then the most dominant, according to the report of the medical experts, if the female gender is the most dominant, and that kind of a person can do both hormonal injections and surgery to remove the physical male manifestations and boost the female manifestation. So such interventions or hormonal interventions or surgery are allowed and permissible in Islam. It is said that in the course of doing this sex change and surgery or sex assignment, physicians are required to explain to the child's guardians the result of the medical investigation and whether the evidence indicate that the child is male or female, in order to keep the guardians well informed. That is before the final decision is taken, before the surgery is done, the child's guardian must be fully carried along and ensure that they understand what it means and why it is dominant and what options they have and how to pursue those options in the best interest of the child. Yeah, so I would want to stop here and thank you all for this opportunity to make this presentation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make it a source of blessing for us, a source of better understanding for us about our team in this world, that may forgive us our shortcomings. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik, nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayka. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursalin, walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.
Thank you so much, Jazakumullah khairan, for that wonderful lecture. It was deep, it was well explained. May Allah continue to increase you in beneficial knowledge. Thank you so much. Now to the house. If we have any question for our brother, he is here to answer our questions. If we have questions, can we please be quick about it? We're going to be doing that in the next for the next 15 minutes. And if you're not talking, can you please mute your mic? Thank you.
That's what I want to say.
Okay. Okay. If you want to ask questions, please feel free to do so. If you don't want to talk, you can send a chat. I'll read the questions out for our speaker and you can respond. You can also use the raise hand button option. That way, you get called upon to answer, to ask your question.
Assalamu alaikum to lie.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I don't know. Can the person with the child please mute your page, please? Just mute it, please. Thank you. I want to thank our brother, Ustaz Abdurrahman Leki, for the presentation. But Ustaz Abdurrahman Leki, we love your presentation, but some of us, we do not understand all your grammars. Àwọn àgbàlagbà lórí program yìí tó ṣe pé wọ́n prefer kó jẹ́ pé abínibí yẹn eke bóyá kẹ́ fi bá wa summarize díẹ̀ ẹ jọ̀ọ́ bismillah.
Now, Abdullahi mina shaitani rajim, bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Adá ọpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run Ọba. Jẹ́ kí adá ọpẹ́ fún Ọlọ́run Ọba. Ọlọ́run ọba aláàánú jùlọ tí ó fi àánú ẹ̀ kó wa jọ. Àwa bẹ̀ kó jọ jàre kó má fi ìbínú ẹ̀ tú wa ká. Mo lérò pé à ń rí screen mi báyìí.
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So ọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n ní ká bára wa sọ, òun náà ni nípa wọ́n pè ní sex and gender identity. Ìyẹn ni wípé nípa ọ̀rọ̀ ṣé akọ ni wá àbí nípa ọ̀rọ̀ akọ àti abo àti nǹkan tí a lè pè pé ṣakọ ni ṣabo ni ìjẹ́ ènìyàn ni. Wọ́n ní pé kí a sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀. Torí pé lénìí ní ayé tá a wà nísìnyí oríṣiríṣi ni a máa ń gbọ́. Àwọn kan sọ pé àwọn ò kì í ṣọkùnrin. Àwọn kan lè ní pé ọkùnrin la rí wọn la bí wọn. Wọ́n láwọn ò kì í ṣọkùnrin. Àwọn míì wọ́n lè láwọn ò kì í ṣobìnrin. Lèmi lè ní pé kódà àwọn ò tẹ̀tù kì í ṣe méjèèjì. Èmi lè tún ní pé oríṣiríṣi ni a máa ń gbọ́ nísìnyí. Àwa ní pé kí a sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ẹ̀. Wọ́n ní kí wá ní sex. Wọ́n ní sex ni àwọn nǹkan tá a máa ń rí ní reproductive organ èèyàn. Ìyẹn ni pé nǹkan ọmọkùnrin àbí nǹkan abẹ́ obìnrin tí a máa ń rí tá a máa fi mọ̀ pé eléyìí ọkùnrin ni. Ìyẹn ni pé ẹni tó bá ní ọ̀pá àbí tó ní kálàmù, wọ́n ní ìyẹn ni ọkùnrin. Ẹni tó bá wá ní nǹkan tí ó jẹ́ ìdàkejì, wọ́n ní ìyẹn á máa jẹ́ obìnrin. So àwọn nǹkan tá a máa ń rí ni àwọn fi mọ̀ pé eléyìí ni sex. Wọ́n ní kí wá ní gender. Wọ́n ní gender wá ní pé àwọn nǹkan tó yẹ pé yàtọ̀ fún pé nǹkan tí a fojú rí, ìyàtọ̀ nínú ìṣesí, nínú ìwà, nínú àwọn ètò kan tó yàtọ̀ fún pé eléyìí ó lé abẹ́ ọkùnrin ni o àbí ó lábẹ́ obìnrin ni o. Wọ́n ní eléyìí làwọn fi mọ̀ bóyá ṣé akọ ni àbí abo. So ìyẹn jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Wọ́n wá ní pé tọ̀ kí wá ló ń jẹ́ ìṣe ọkùnrin àti ìṣe obìnrin. Kí ni a lè fi pé tọ̀ tá lè fi sọ pé èmi tí mo ń sọ̀rọ̀ yìí o, èmi náà lè máa fi ṣàlàyé fún àwọn èèyàn pé akọ ni mí àbí abo ni mí. Wọ́n ní la fi ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa gender identity. Ọlọ́run sọ náà kan nínú Al-Quran, ó ní pé mo pe yá ayọ́ àná sí, mo pe ẹ̀yin ọmọnìyàn pé dájúdájú inna ja'alnakum, inna khalaqnakum, àwọn Ọlọ́run ọba a dá yín min dhakarin wa untha, látara ọkùnrin àti obìnrin. Ìyẹn ni pé ìṣẹ̀dá ọmọ èèyàn tí Ọlọ́run ọba ṣe, ó ṣe látara ọkùnrin àti obìnrin. Waja'alnakum, àwa ṣe yín ní shu'uban, àwọn èèyàn, wa qaba'ila, àti ìran oníranran, lita'arafu, kẹ́bàlẹ̀ dára yín mọ̀ ni o. Ipe surely dájúdájú ẹni tí ó fi ń ní ọlá jùlọ níwájú Ọlọ́run ọba òun ni ẹni tí ó ṣe òdodo tí ó tẹ̀lé ìlànà ti Ọlọ́run bá ní ẹni tó fi ń lájú lọ nìyẹn. Àwọn sọ pé látara ìwà máa bá lò pọ̀ láàárín ọkùnrin àtobìnrin, wọ́n ní ìbálòpọ̀ oríṣi méjì la máa ń sábà rí. A máa ń rí ìbálòpọ̀ ọkùnrin àtobìnrin tí wọ́n máa fẹ́ra wọn, tó máa bára wọn lò pọ̀. A máa ń rí ní o ìbálòpọ̀ ń gbà míì láàárín ọkùnrin sí ọkùnrin àbí láàárín obìnrin sí obìnrin. A wá ń sọ wípé ìbálòpọ̀ láàárín ọkùnrin sí obìnrin tí wọ́n fẹ́ra wọn pẹ̀lú lọ́nà ẹ̀tọ́, eléyìí nìkan ní Islam gbà láàyè. Anáwọn ìbálòpọ̀ míì ẹlòmíì wọn tí ìfẹ́ra wọn ti ṣe lẹ́tọ̀ọ́ ara wọn, wọ́n máa súnmọ́ra wọn, Islam ò gbà láàyè, ṣìnà ni. Àbí kí èèyàn kan ti níyàwó lé àbó lọ́kọ lé, wọ́n lọ máa bá obìnrin míì láṣepọ̀ láì ṣe pé ó fẹ́, àbí obìnrin olóńbọ̀kùnrin míì láṣepọ̀ jẹ́ pé ó dẹ̀ sì wà nílé ọkọ, eléyìí Islam ò gbà láàyè. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin bẹ̀ òun ni kí ọkùnrin àti ọkùnrin kó máa bára wọn láṣepọ̀, Islam ò gbà láàyè. Àbí kí obìnrin àti obìnrin kó máa bára wọn ní àṣepọ̀, Islam ò gbà láàyè. Àmọ́ tó ti bẹ́ẹ̀ náà, wọ́n ní Islam ó recognize, ó mọ̀, ó gbà wípé oríṣi mẹ́rin ni ọmọ èèyàn wà. Tá bá ń sọ̀rọ̀ nípa ṣákọ ni àbábo ni, oríṣi mẹ́rin ló wà. Alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ ń bẹ̀ yẹn làwọn akọ tá ń pè lọ́kùnrin, tó wádẹ̀ ti mọ̀ tí ó jẹ́ ọkùnrin. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kejì ń bẹ̀ òun ni àwọn tí wọ́n jẹ́ obìnrin. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹta ń bẹ̀ òun ni wọ́n tí wọ́n ń pè ní hermaphrodite. Ìyẹn ni pé wọ́n ní nǹkan ọmọkùnrin, bá rí mí inú wọn, ẹ̀rí nǹkan ọmọkùnrin lára ẹ̀, ẹ̀rí nǹkan ọmọbìnrin lára ẹ̀, kódà ń gbà míì á tún gúnyàn kékeré. Ẹ wá nímọ̀ pé ṣọ́kùnrin ni àbóbìnrin ni. Wọ́n ní Islam recognize wọn pé orú wọn wà. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin àwọn ni wọ́n pè ní muhannath, ìyẹn ni effeminate male. Ìyẹn ni àwọn ọkùnrin tó ṣe é pé ní ìdátọ́lọ́hun dá wọn, wọn ní nǹkan ojú ara obìnrin o, àmọ́ ohùn wọn, ìsọ̀rọ̀ sí wọn, ìrìn wọn, ní ìtọ́lọ́hun dá wọn ní o, ó jọ mọ́ ti obìnrin. So ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin tó wà nìyẹn. A ní alọ́kùnrin, alóbìnrin, aláwọn tó wọ́n jẹ́ ọkùnrin àtobìnrin ní nǹkan àwọn characteristics tí wọ́n ní, especially the sexual manifestations. Ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin ni àwọn ọkùnrin tó ṣe é pé ní Ọlọ́run dá wọn nídà ìsọ̀rọ̀ sí wọn, ìrìn wọn, bó ṣe ń rìn, bó ṣe ń sọ̀rọ̀, mannerisms wọn ó jọ ti obìnrin. Wọ́n sọ pé àwọn kúnsáì, àwọn àfáà sọ fún wa wípé wọ́n pín sí oríṣi méjì. Àwọn kan wà tó yẹ pé tá bá ti rí wọn báyìí, a máa ti mọ̀ pé ọ̀dọ̀ ó ní nǹkan ọmọkùnrin o, ó ní nǹkan ọmọbìnrin o. Àwọn bó ló máa ń gbà tọ̀, tó bá fẹ́ tọ̀ gẹ́gẹ́ bí àpẹẹrẹ, ojú tọmọkùnrin yẹn ló máa fi ń tọ̀. Tó bá fẹ́ ń gbà míì tó sùn, tó lọ sùn, tó lálàá sí pé kò jẹ́ tí màárì, tó wá damira, aríkó ń damira láti ibi ojú nǹkan tí ọmọkùnrin alákànnàkùn méjèèjì ló ní. Àbó ti wá dàgbà, wá jẹ́ kò ṣe nǹkan oṣù. Tọkùnrin nǹkan náà lárí pé ó ń fọ́, àá sọ pé ọkùnrin ni. Tó bá jẹ́ wípé ètò wà dominant ní ti obìnrin, wípé ẹni tó máa ń ṣe nǹkan oṣù, ó ti gúnyàn, ó ní gbogbo àwọn nǹkan míì tó ń jọ àti obìnrin, orú onítìí wọ́n á sọ wípé obìnrin ni. So èyí tó tún wá wà ní al-khunsa al-musikil, wọ́n tó ṣe pé tá bá wò lójú báyìí a ní tètè mọ̀ bóyá ọkùnrin àtobìnrin bóyá ó fẹ́ tọ̀ nísìn méjèèjì ló fi ń tọ̀, gbàmí á fi tọkùnrin tọ̀, gbàmí á fi tobìnrin tọ̀, gbàmí á ṣe nǹkan oṣù, so orú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ wọ́n sọ wípé al-khunsa al-musikil, ìyẹn ni pé hermaphrodite tó jẹ́ pé kò rọrùn fún wa àti dámọ̀. Wọ́n ní àwọn hermaphrodite, àwọn modern technology tí wá tún wá ràn wá lọ́wọ́ débi pé ní ó ti rọrùn fún wa àti dá wọn mọ̀, tó jẹ́ pé tá bá gbé sábẹ́ kọ̀ǹpútà ni o, tá bá gbé sábẹ́ machine ni o, machine yẹn máa rí gbogbo àwọn ẹ̀dọ̀ inú ẹ̀ ni o, a sì mọ̀ pé ok ọ̀dọ̀ nǹkan ọmọkùnrin ló ní, àmọ́ tá bá wo nínú ẹ̀, for instance sí ẹja rí pé nǹkan ọmọkùnrin ó lọ́mọkùnrin lọ́mọbìnrin, bàtà wá wo inú ẹ̀ a rí àpò òbí ó wà nínú ẹ̀, a rí gbogbo nǹkan tó máa fi jẹ́ kó lè bímọ, kó lè lóyún, kó lè bímọ, gbogbo ẹ̀ ló wà nínú ẹ̀. A wá rí bó ṣe lè, bóyá tó bá fẹ́ àtọ̀ kò wá látọ̀ àbí kò ní nǹkan kan, àwọn rí pé yàtọ̀ fún pé nǹkan tá a rí fojú rí, tá bá tún wo ikùn a tún máa rí àwọn nǹkan míì. Wọ́n ní gbogbo nǹkan náà ni a lè wò tá a fi mọ̀ pé ṣọ́kùnrin ni. Àbí obìnrin ni wà ní ààyè. So wọ́n sọ fún wa wípé ẹlẹ́ẹ̀kẹrin ni ọkùnrin tó ṣe pé ní ó ń ṣe bí obìnrin, àlọ́ wọ́n dẹ̀ pín sí méjì, ètò jẹ́ kí bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣe dá nìyẹn. Wọ́n ní tọ́lọ́run pé bọ́lọ̀ ń ṣe dá nìyẹn, wọ́n ní ìyẹn ò lẹ́ṣẹ̀ kankan, ọkùnrin ni Ọlọ́run kan dá bẹ́ẹ̀ ni. Ọ̀nà kan àti pé Ọlọ́run ò dá wọn bẹ́ẹ̀, àwọn ni wọ́n kàn mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ fẹ́ máa ṣe bí obìnrin, wọ́n fẹ́ máa díhùn, èmi à lọ mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ máa díhùn ẹ̀, èmi à mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ máa rọ́rìn, èmi à mọ̀ọ́mọ̀ máa lọ máa wọṣọ obìnrin. Wọ́n ní irú eléyìí Islam ò gbà láàyè rárá àti rárá, kódà ànábì iṣẹ́ ibi dandan lé orú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ tí Ọlọ́run ò dá bẹ́ẹ̀ tó fúnra ẹ̀ lọ ń hùwà bẹ́ẹ̀. Eléyìí jẹ́ àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ kan. Wọ́n tó wá sọ fún wa pé àwọn ẹ̀kọ́ kan wà nípa bí ẹni tí ó bá jẹ́ al-khunsa tí wọ́n máa ṣe gẹ́gẹ́ bí àpẹẹrẹ. Wọ́n ní tó wá fẹ́ kírun, wọ́n ní a nífẹ̀ẹ́ sí jùlọ kí orú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ kí ó máa kírun lé, tó bá tẹ̀ máa lọ sí mọ́ṣáláṣí kò ní tò síwájú pẹ̀lú àwọn ọkùnrin, kò ní tò síwájú pẹ̀lú àwọn obìnrin, á wá tò sáàárín between the men and the women. So tó bá jẹ́ pé àti ìmọ̀ èyí tó jẹ́ dominant sex ẹ̀ ni ọ̀tá bá ti mọ̀ tó ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ position operation ẹ̀ tẹ̀ own thing, a wá máa múra èyí tó jẹ́ tó súnmọ́ tiẹ̀. Wọ́n ní èyí tó bá jẹ́ ó ní nǹkan ọmọkùnrin àtobìnrin tí àwa tí mọ̀ èyí tó máa já sí, wọ́n ní tọ́ọ̀tì diagnose ẹ̀, yẹn ní pé tó ti lọ bá dókítà kan ti examine ẹ̀, kan ti wò pé kan ṣàyẹ̀wò fún, wọ́n wò pé èwo làwọn máa jẹ́ kí ó jẹ́ tiẹ̀. Wọ́n lóró ń tì kó sì máa múra bí obìnrin tí wọ́n máa fi dá èyí tó jẹ́ tiẹ̀ mọ̀. Wọ́n ní ṣé ń sáwà lè kírun fún, ó lè lead irun, wọ́n ní rọ́ tó ń sáwà lè lead irun fún ọkùnrin o, but ó lè lead irun fún àwọn obìnrin, àbí tí ó bá rí àwọn khunsa tí àwọn tó jẹ́ khunsa ẹgbẹ́ wọn ó lè lead irun fún wọn. So ìyẹn jẹ́ bẹ́ẹ̀. Kí wá làwọn àfáà wá sọ gẹ́gẹ́ bí fatwa nípa mo fẹ́ ṣe sex change surgery, ìyẹn ní pé mo fẹ́ ṣe surgery nípa ṣé akọ ni mí àbábo ni mí. Wọ́n ní alákọ̀ọ́kọ́ kéèyàn lọ ṣe surgery tó ṣe pé bóyá pé ṣe la rí pé physical sexual organ ẹ̀ ó physiological ẹ̀ ó ṣò pé bóyá ọkùnrin àbóbìnrin, ó kàn ń rò lọ́kàn ẹ̀ pé ó dàbí obìnrin ni mí jàre, mò ń feel bí obìnrin. Wọ́n ní orú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ àgbà láàyè rárá lọ ṣe surgery irú bẹ́ẹ̀ haram ni. Àmọ́ tó fẹ́ pé àwa wò ó ní ojú ara ọkùnrin àtobìnrin, wọ́n ní orú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ àgbà láàyè after thorough examination of both lẹ́yìn tó wá ti ṣàyẹ̀wò fún lórí nǹkan tá a fojú rí ní ojú ara ẹ̀ àbí nǹkan tá a fi machine wò láti fi mọ nǹkan tó wà nínú ẹ̀. Wọ́n ló oró ń tì àgbà láàyè pé kó lọ ṣe iṣẹ́ abẹ àbí kó lo oògùn tó máa fi jẹ́ kí ètò àbọ̀ pé ó jẹ́ ẹ̀yà ẹ̀ gangan tó máa fi fojú hàn sí. For instance, ní tàbí pé ó dàbí obìnrin ló yẹ kí eléyìí jẹ́ o. The most manifest tó fojú hàn jù nínú ara ẹ̀ ní àwọn ẹ̀yà obìnrin. Àwa fún lóògùn jẹ́ tó bá ti lo oògùn yẹn á túbọ̀ máa ràn lọ́wọ́ láti bí ọmú ẹ̀ kò tí ì lọ́mú dáadáa tẹ́tẹ́lẹ̀ tó ní pé manifestation yẹn wọ́n sì ń kọjúra wọn. Ẹ̀yà ọkùnrin ó sì ń kọjú ẹ̀yà obìnrin. Àwa fún lóògùn tó bá lò àwa fojú hàn dáadáa pé obìnrin ni. Tó wá yẹ kó máa require pé ojú ara ọmọkùnrin tó sì wà ń bẹ̀ tóbìnrin yẹn ti ń ṣiṣẹ́ dáadáa ó ti wà ókè ó ti dúró déédéé àwa lọ ṣiṣẹ́ abẹ kó máa fi yọ èyí tí ò wúlò ń bẹ̀ mọ́ máa fi yọ kúrò. Wọ́n ní wáyé kóbìnrin náà ni láti determine wọ́n ní wọ́n gbà láàyè àmọ́ wọ́n ní ọ̀ranyàn ni o wípé kí wọ́n tó ṣorú iṣẹ́ abẹ yìí kí àwọn dókítà kí wọ́n ṣàlàyé fún ẹni tó bá jẹ́ bàbá ọmọ àbí ìyá ọmọ àbí àwọn guardian ẹ̀ yẹn ni pé àwọn tí ó ń bá gbé wọ́n ṣàlàyé fún wọn. Nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ àti ṣàyẹ̀wò nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ la rí o nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ la rí o nǹkan bẹ́ẹ̀ ló máa dáa jù fún ọmọ yìí o gẹ́gẹ́ bí nǹkan tí a fojú rí kí wọ́n tó ṣe iṣẹ́ abẹ fún. Jẹ́ bí ó ṣe jẹ́ lórí iṣẹ́ tí Imam Qasim Adams àti àwọn jọmọ́ tí wọ́n ní pé kí a ṣe. Mo lérò pé a gbìyànjú díẹ̀ láti tú ní láti èdè Gẹ̀ẹ́sì sí èdè àbínibí. Ọlọ́run bá kí ó ṣe àforíjì fún wa kó dẹ̀ ṣe àmójúkúrò àwọn àṣìṣe wa. Now,
Jazakumullahu khairan. Adúpẹ́ púpọ̀ because èmi mọ̀ pé Ustaz Lekki tí mo mọ̀ gbọ́ Yorùbá mo mọ̀ dẹ̀ mọ̀ pé Ustaz Lekki tí mo mọ̀ gbọ́ Lárúbáwá Ustaz Lekki tí mo mọ̀ gbọ́ èèbó náà so mẹ́tẹ̀ẹ̀ta ló lọ mo kàn mọ èdè míì tó kún tí èmi ò mọ èdè míì lẹ́yìn àwọn mẹ́ta yẹn kí Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala kó dúpẹ́. A brother said thank you sir for the lecture. We appreciate you. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and your family. Sister Khadija, you want to go on from here?
Naam. Thank you so much. Jazakumullah khairan. Yeah, so I was supposed to call on our dear sister to recite the Quran before the lecture, but because I didn't get her name on time, so I'm going to permit me to call her now, Sister Aisha Ogushola. If you're there, can you please unmute your mic and recite the Quran? And while that is ongoing, can we please all mute our mics as a form of respect to the words of Allah. Thank you so much. Sister Aisha Ogushola, if you're ready for us, we're ready for you.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Was-samai wat-tariq wa ma adraka mat-tariq an-najmu as-sakib in kullu nafsin lamma 'alayha hafiz falyanzur al-insanu mimma khuliqa من ماء دافق يخرج من بين الصلب والترائب إنه على رجعه لقادر يوم تبلى السرائب فما له من قوة ولا ناصر والسماء ذات الرجل والأرض ذات الصدع إنه لقول فصل وما هو بالهزل إنه يكيدون كيدا وأكيد كيدا فمهل الكافرين أمهلهم رويدا.
MashaAllah, Barakallahu Fiki, dear sister. Thank you so much for that beautiful recitation. May Allah continue to increase you in beneficial knowledge. Ameen. Make you the coolness of your parents' eyes. Brother Masood, you have your hand up. You have a question. Please go ahead. Brother Masood. Okay. Should I say that was a mistake? Okay, so if we have questions for our lecturer from the house, please feel free to type in your question or unmute your mic and ask.
Ẹ jẹ́ ká bẹ̀rẹ̀ question o.
Assalamu alaikum, sir.
Alaikum salam.
Yes, sir. My question is on does lecturer, sir, please, do you have idea of any kind of Islamic oriented organization that will be something so far away from the LGBTQ as we know it, that could be able to cater for people like this that are having this kind of having this kind of problem with their sexual identity in Islam?
Imam Abdurrahman Leki. I guess it's not there. And if you ask me that question, my father suffer pay him. So don't even go there. Pay me the down question.
No,
Okay, sorry. Could you please repeat the question? Sorry.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you, sir. So my question is that I understand there might be some people facing this kind of sexual identity problems in Islam. So I was just asking that, do you have idea of any Islamic oriented organization that will be something so far away from the LGBTQ as we know it, that could cater for people like this in Islam?
I don't understand that, but if what you are asking for is organization that can support people who have the physical traits of both gender, is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
So yes, sir, something close to that.
No, it's not. Please be clear about it. Is it that they have physical manifestations, or those among those people who say they are LGBTQ, or what did they call it? I say I'm imagining that I'm a man and I'm trapped in the body of a woman, because the Islamic definition are only, sorry, let me clear. Islam don't take care of are those who have physiological, clearly physiological manifestations of gender different from male and female, purely physiological, not emotional or imaginary or psychological. Now, no. If it is the physiological lens, so currently I don't know of any such organization, but from what I know of most Muslim organizations in most of those advanced countries, most especially like the Muslim Public Affairs Committee in a few of those countries, and a few of their, if you check the websites of most of the umbrella organizations in most of the countries in the West, either US, Canada, or UK, I'm sure you can find support groups, people who you can go for to help with fatwa or to help with support on how to properly assign the right gender for such persons and how to support them through their either surgery or their therapeutic interventions. But I can talk with a few contacts. I don't know which country you are in. I can talk with a few contacts there and reach out to Imam Qasim Adams, and for us to establish those contacts that can be of help.
Okay,
So Imam Qasim, you can reach out to me after this program.
Inshallah, inshallah.
So there is also, okay, go ahead, please.
Yeah, so okay. So I also have a follow-up question. I sent it in the chat that could it be possible for you to give us a kind of a shareable version of the lecture?
Go ahead.
No,
like a text or.
Go ahead, Brother Masood. I guess my network. He said, okay, you have a text for a follow-up question.
Yes, sir. I sent it in the chat already.
Okay, that's fine. Brother Kosim can give you my number.
Yes.
You can send the
No.
WhatsApp message to me.
Okay. Nǹkan tó ṣẹlẹ̀ ni pé that very number, a ní WhatsApp group fún Anasia group. So when you send it to me, èmi máa gbé sórí Anasia group for whomever tó bá fẹ́ check your write up or the video of this program there, inshallah.
Okay, so Brother Abdurrahman, there is another question in the chat box. Someone asked, how do we help a child trying to identify as a gender different from what Allah created him as?
Okay, now, so again, I need to be clear on this. Is it that that child has a manifestation, physical manifestation of multi-gender? That is, it has both the male and female physiological manifestation. Tó bá jẹ́ pé a rí ó ní abẹ́ ọkùnrin àbó lábẹ́ obìnrin, irú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀ á clearly lọ sí ọ̀dọ̀ àwọn expert doctor kí wọ́n ṣe àyẹ̀wò fún both physical examination and internal examination láti lè jẹ́ kí a mọ ètò gender á ràn lọ́wọ́. Àmọ́ tó bá jẹ́ pé ètò jẹ́ pé kò sí nǹkan a rí pé ọkùnrin leléyìí kò sí nǹkan kan tó fi ń jọ obìnrin rárá at all. Orú àwọn tí ìgbà ló fẹ́ gbà lọ́wọ́ wa, ìyẹn ò kì í ṣe pé bóyá ó ní anything tó ṣe, torí pé àwọn èèyàn ti ń sọ ládùúgbò pé èmi náà rí báyìí náà ló náà ṣe ń rò bẹ́ẹ̀. Gẹ́gẹ́ bí ẹni tó sọ, because àwọn ọ̀rọ̀ yẹn a rí pé sọkúsọ ni tí ò nítumọ̀, tí ò ní sense. Wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní sọ ẹlẹ́mìíràn ní kẹ́ ọkùnrin ní mí, mo ní feeling pé obìnrin ni mo fẹ́ jọ. Mo ní feeling pé kìíní kan, ẹlẹ́mìíràn gbà ibi tí ẹ láìkí ọkùnrin ni mo láìkí máa bá ọkùnrin sùn. Obìnrin ni mí, mo ní feeling pé obìnrin ló yẹ kí máa bá sùn. Ìkan sọ pé ọkùnrin ni mí, mo ní feeling pé ẹranko ló yẹ kí máa bá sùn. Èmi tí ẹ rò pé bóyá ọmọdé tó ṣẹ̀ bí lóòjọ́ lóhùn mi kí máa bá sùn. Yẹn kí wọ́n ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí mú bọ́, wọ́n ti mú bọ̀ díẹ̀díẹ̀. All of those things are just ìròrí. Tó bá ní how do we learn wàsá tí ṣe ìtọ́ ni, ìyẹn ni ìfẹ́ sí ìsọ dé èṣù máa ń wújẹ́wújẹ́ sí ìyàn lọ́kàn ni. Òun ṣe pé bóyá pé ó lẹ́nìtìn, ìkọ̀ká ní kó lẹ́nìtìn ni, okay. Ẹni tó wá ń sọ pé òun kò máa bá ọmọ òjọ́ sùn, ó ní ká pè yẹn sí. Ọmọ tí ò ṣẹ̀ tí ò mọ̀ ẹ̀rí ó wá wùwọ́ kó o máa bá sùn, ṣé ló dá ẹ bẹ́ẹ̀? Nature gan ò lè dá èèyàn bẹ́ẹ̀ pé kó yẹn kó máa wùyàn kó máa bá ọmọ òjọ́ sùn. Ọkùnrin sọ pé sexual orientation àwọn nìyẹn. Kẹ̀rí kọ̀rọ̀ yẹn ò bá làákàyè mu, kò tiẹ̀ make sense. So tá a bá ti bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí sọ tá a ti ń gbà á láàyè. So orí ẹni tó bá dúró ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ ká má purọ́ tanra wa. Ayé tá a wà ń sìn ti dàrú. Ó ti dorí pòdì. It is now for us, because orí ẹ̀yin tẹ́ wà ní West, wàhálà tí yín tẹ́ fẹ́ pọ̀ jù díẹ̀ ju ti wa lọ ń bí. Ká ní pé lẹ́kọ̀ọ́ ni àbí Nàìjíríà ń bí, tá a bá ti yọ bílálà sí, tá a ti na orí ẹ̀bẹ́ ni máa fẹ́, àti na orí ẹ̀bẹ́ ni máa fẹ́ kú. Kò ní rántí mọ́ pé gẹ́ńdà kan ni òun jà bó òun ò jẹ́. Àmọ́ lọ́hùn yẹn tí ẹ lè nà balambana ò lè dá sí pé bóyá kìíní. So the best bet tí mo rí pé wà available ọ̀nà méjì ni. Mo rúrú ẹni bẹ́ẹ̀, ẹni tí mo ti ẹ̀ sọ Christian ni ọmọ ẹ̀, ó ti wà ní òun wà Nàìjíríà bí ó ń sẹ́ndì ọmọ ẹ̀ lọ lóyìnbó. Ọmọ ẹ̀ tí wá wà bí 400 level. Ló bá sọ fún màmá ẹ̀ pé òun ọkùnrin náà mẹ́rin lọ sí ìlú òyìnbó, ló bá dé pé òun fìlì pé obìnrin lòun. So òun fẹ́ bẹ̀rẹ̀ hormonal kinní kan. Ìyá yẹn ò tiẹ̀ bá ágìl, kò tiẹ̀ wí há, kò tiẹ̀ wí ho. Ó kàn lọ sọ́hùn, ó lọ kí ó ní pé ó wà òkè pé kàn wọ́n lọ sí Nàìjíríà pé fún next holiday nǹkan kan. Ìyá yẹn ò tiẹ̀ fún lára tó dé Nàìjíríà báyìí, ìyá yẹn ya passport yẹn ni. Ìyẹn ọkọ̀ ṣe ọkọ̀ fa passport yẹn ya. Ó kọ́kọ́ pàtó débí tó ọkọ̀ fa wàhálà tó kó wàhálà tó ò rí bí já sí ìkòlẹ́ ó máa fẹ́ jẹ́ ọlọ́pàá Nàìjíríà pé ọkùnrin ni ẹ kó olóko obìnrin ni ẹ. Ọlọ́pàá yẹn kọ́ ló máa kọ́ fi gbà tí ẹ padà síbi tó ti ń bọ̀. Èmi ti yín tòótọ́ ó padà lọ sí ó lọ bẹ̀rẹ̀ University of Nigeria fresh ní 100 level factory research ti bá orí ẹ̀ nísìnyí ó ti fẹ́yàwó ká ní kó ṣì wà nílùú òyìnbó ni a ṣe máa lóun rò kọkùnrin òun rò gbóbìnrin lòun ìyẹn ṣe máa rò gbóbìnrin ni ìsọkúsọ ni kò tiẹ̀ kò bá làkàyè ọmọ èdè èèyàn mu òyìnbó kan mọ̀ fẹ́ da yérú ni so ẹni tá à ń wí tó dógbò rògbò nígbà tó padà sí Nàìjíríà ṣé ọpọlọ ẹ wá pé padà ni o àbí kí ló tún yí pàtó wà lọ́wọ́ lóun rò gbóbìnrin lòun pàtó wá débí tí ò ráyè tó rí nǹkan tó lè sọpọ́ọ̀tì ìsọkúsọ àti ìròkúrò tó ń rò yẹn ọkùnrin ẹ̀ ló wá padà farabalẹ̀ dìmbí tó farabalẹ̀ lọ yunifásitì tó farabalẹ̀ graduate tó farabalẹ̀ fẹ́yàwó ó ti fẹ́yàwó ti ń bímọ nísìn lọ́dọ̀ tí yín lọ́hùn yẹn that is why you must have a supporting Muslim community. Ẹ wá àwọn àfáà kan wà káàkiri lọ́wọ́n àdúgbò yẹn mọ̀ pé ó máa ń difficult lọ́wọ́n àti rí wọn but tí wọ́n wà àwọn psychologists Muslim therapists tó yẹ pé wọ́n lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ sí ní bárò ọmọ bẹ́ẹ̀ sọ̀rọ̀ tí wọ́n á máa counsel ẹ̀ tí wọ́n á máa jẹ́ kó yé wípé báyìí ló ṣe rí báyìí kásà báyìí káwòdì báyìí ni orú nǹkan tí wọ́n pẹ̀lẹ̀ ṣe lọ́hùn nìyẹn then option èkejì tèmi tún rò ní pé ọmọ ẹwà sọ wá sí Nàìjíríà bí kó jẹ́ àárín MSS lè wá jù sí àbí ilé kí ó kàn lè wá jù sí bí lára àwọn tí wọ́n lè tọ́jú ẹ̀ ìròrí yẹn ò kí ń tribe ní Nàìjíríà àwọn òyìnbó yẹn ń gbé jákujàku ẹ wá sí Nàìjíríà ń gbà kan pé Obama tiẹ̀ ló gbé wá fún bàbá Buhari gbà ẹ Buhari lòun ò gbà ẹ kó wọn ràn kúrò ní ọ̀dọ̀ wa ń bí so tó bá rọ ọmọ náà sí Nàìjíríà sìn tó yẹ pé kìnìkan tó máa fi lo bí ọdún mẹ́wàá ń bí kò ní rántí mọ́ pé káíkóbìnrin ni kò ní rántí mọ́ pé òun máa ń rò pé òun dọkùnrin káíkọkùnrin ni kò ní rántí mọ́ pé ètò jù lọ ń bẹ kábẹ lọ́ngàn lórí àwọn ọmọ because àdúrà èèyàn fi ń re ọmọ Ọlọ́run bá kó jọ kí ó bá wa rè wọn kí ó má jẹ́ kí ọmọ wa ya àyàfi àmọ́ wa lọ́wọ́. Now.
Amin. Thank you so much. Do we have anyone with questions or contributions to what our brother has explained to us? Okay, while we wait, I'm just going to add one or two things to what Brother Abdurrahman just said. Being a teacher in Canada has also exposed me to ways we can help our children. I can assure you that it's tough, but with dua, there's nothing Allah cannot do. Teachers, well, alhamdulillah, I've always taught in a Muslim school, but then we get products from public schools, even though my son now goes to a public school. But we as parents, we need to inculcate the habit of making dua intentionally for our children. Because no matter how much you try to raise your kid, this society will always want to help you re-raise them the way they want them to turn out to be. I'll do that later, okay? So they always want to introduce how you should raise your own kids as well. So for me, as a parent, as a teacher, I'll always say, let's be intentional when we are making dua for them. And then family halaqah immediately after Fajr is very essential. This is something they learn first thing in the morning when they wake up after Salah. It sticks. Let's do family halaqah in the sense that we pick a verse of the Quran, even if it's the hadith, read it, explain it to them. Let them, if they are old enough to explain, let them take turns in explaining the hadith themselves. This is something that works because it helps the kids to get themselves ready for the next morning. For example, if you say, okay, Khalid, you're going to read hadith 1 for us tomorrow, or hadith 2, he reads it. If he needs help, he comes to you, you explain, and then the next morning he reads the hadith, he explains it. But we can only achieve this if our kids are going for tarbiyah, if they go to madrasa, right? Or we are able to teach them ourselves. That way they familiarize themselves with it, they understand the deen, they are in love with it. And like Ramadan is coming, I know most of us are busy abroad, But I always say one thing, that if we're intentional, we always create that time. Ramadan is coming. For me, what I do for my kids and other kids around me is that a day to Ramadan, I organize a Ramadan party with the kids. I always ask Allah and He always provides. So there's something about that mood that I want to set for the children. I decorate the house with Ramadan decor. They have the idea for a whole month that it's festive and spiritual period for us as Muslims. They look forward to Eid because they'll ask you, what's the essence of Ramadan? You explain and you tell them, at the end of the day, we have a party where you get to choose a gift. You know, so many other things, creative ways we can make our children fall in love with the words of Allah